Hello guys, and welcome to another Thursday video. Well, Thursday live. I was meant to do a video, but I'm doing it live again. Let's see if anyone drops in. Make sure that this thing works. Welcome, 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 welcome. Whoever's joining me, who's going to be the first in the chat? Whoever is going to be first. We'll find out. Let's see. 3, 2, 1. Someone's going to say hi, I'm pretty sure. Maybe on my own here. Zero. You have 0 viewers. That's how I started. Is the volume too loud, actually? It is Thursday, isn't it? I hope so. Woohoo! Padre was first. Hi. And Simon, greetings from Venezuela. And Todd, hello. Hello, guys. Thanks for joining. Sha, a Swede, apparently. Shadow, MN. Nice to have you here. And we've got Max who says, Oi. Why am I just reading out the chat? Everyone can read it. Andreas Brillen, Obel. Hello. Welcome. Padre, hello from Russia. Hello from Sweden. Hello, Domino's Zed. Why am I saying all the names now? Oh, I didn't even realize. You said in what did you say? Imphenzia. Hello from Slovakia. Hello back from Sweden. SpaceX Gaming. Hey. Kaff. I have actually read. I only read the first part of your name, Kaffe. Kaffe, no, coffee in Swedish. All right. So CAD Knowledge says, how's your day going, sir? It's great. Stressful as ever. But I realized when I did my recap of all my 10-minute modeling videos, I realized that in nearly every in nearly every video, I said, today's been a stressful week. I've been doing this and this and this. And I realized that I say that every week. So that must sound super boring. But this week has been super stressful. But I like it that way because there's always things to do. Today in particular was a lot of fun because I was actually going to do a premiere today instead of a live stream. And I had a video all nearly created, all edited. And then just one thing, my wife was in work today, so I had to we got 3 kids, so I had to take care of them. And then one thing after another, I had to go and pick them up at different times in school. And then I got back and then I had to give my youngest a lift to her singing class. And then car issue. My wife brought the car key, so I had to use the phone to start the car. That didn't connect properly. Loads of weird stuff. And then, oh yeah, my daughter accidentally called 911 on one of them emergencies. So she called in panic. I was going to record my intro in the car. So a crazy day, but I'm still rendering the video I was supposed to upload for a premiere now. And it's 17 minutes remaining. So I'm thinking I'll just live stream for a while. And then maybe I'll play that video if it finishes rendering. All right, I'm going to check out the chat here. SpaceX Gaming, yes, I remember you. And hello from Uzbekistan. Hello, SA. And Arvid is here. What's this stressful? Can you confirm if the volume is okay? Is it too loud, too low? I didn't really prep for this one so well. Yes, Met30 life is stressful. I keep saying that one day it'll calm down. I said that before we got married, before we bought a house, before we got kids. And I thought, it'll calm down. And then I started a bunch of companies. And then I worked full-time, did like whatever, hobby game day, I don't know. Crazy. Volume is perfect, great. I have no idea, I just randomly put a lot of music in, so we might have some Wild West music and some weird sound effects might sneak itself in there. We'll find out. Ola Jetgrove, Jetlund, nice name change there. Oh, Sachmo, that was a long time ago. Hello, my friend, hope you're doing good. Let's check. Nearly missed it. Gisler. Oh, my eyes are terrible. Jules, Wombat, any chance of part 6? Yeah, chance. Always a chance. Whether it'll happen or not, I'm not sure yet. It's only been a year. So voice is great. It's not too loud. That's good too. Hello from Kashmir. That sounds expensive. I'm thinking of the fabric here. Zumbar. Cool. Hello there. How are you all? Ghosty Fab is dropping in. Here we go. So for anyone who's joining right now, I'll sound a bit like a broken record, but I was going to do a premiere today. It's rendering the video now, and I cut it closer than I ever cut it before, and I cut it too close. I went too far. So it's still rendering. I thought maybe there's a chance I'll render it, so I switched the rendering algorithm or engine to NVIDIA, but that didn't work. So it's still rendering. I'll air that on the stream, I think, right now. Well, when it's finished So I've got to kill 12 minutes here. So Karsten Rieger, good evening, everybody. Well, good evening. Todd is here. Considering having another tutorial creating assets in Blender, using them for a game in Unity. Are you thinking about like that three-step mini-series I did? Potentially, where I did what was it? That platformer. Today is actually going to be a little bit about that. So it's about creating assets, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the video that's about to come soon. So Andreas is asking, what's the duration of the premiere? Well, the video itself is about 23 minutes that I'm rendering right now. So whatever it takes to finish rendering now, and then I'll just I'll stream it in the live stream. I'll stream the premiere. That's a first. We'll try that. Mia PC, 12 minutes. Can you do a 10-minute modeling challenge? And then in the meantime, I could actually, but my computer might be bogged down actually. Let's see. It's actually going faster now because I had a lot of time-lapse stuff, so it's actually accelerating. Now it's only 9 minutes ago. So it slowed down a lot when I was doing some time-lapse there. Get a Mac. Well, I actually have a Mac, and when every time I try my Power Mac, or whatever it's called, PowerBook, Power Mac, Backpack, MacBack, Power Back, whatever it is, it's slowing me down to a halt. I become, from 100% productive, I go down to like 3%. I can't even find anything on that thing. Leo, hello. All right, cross the streams. I guess it's supposed to say stream. It says streams, but you don't cross the streams. Could be dangerous. Hello. Welcome, everyone. Any chance of doing a Unity game jam? It would have been cool, but I don't think I think I'll disappoint a lot of people because I don't think I'll be able to finish and manage the time, though. It's absolutely crazy right now. Off the rails, good evening. Sachmo, Stefan, any experience with modeling items to be 3D printed? Any tips or advice? No. Well, my chessboard was 3D printed once, and I know it takes a lot of fixing up. You can't have overhangs, or at least no significant ones. You have to split up the parts and do all the supportive structures and stuff, and I haven't really tried it, and I don't think I dare to go into that realm just yet. Stig Design, one of my longest time ever viewers of the Imphenzia channel. Thanks. Glad to have you here. Welcome. I used to comment a lot on my little... before the low poly racing tutorial, I did the start of a prototype called That's Racing. So I remember Stig was very active on those from the Volvos that I used to drive around in those. Best teacher ever, Imphenzia. I don't know. I might wreck that today. Today is going to be not a tutorial, but I want to give an insight with what was supposed to be the premiere. I want to give it a little insight. So I've recorded some stuff that I've been doing this week, but it's mostly time-lapse material or materials that I put into time-lapse. But I've also explained quite a lot about the process, what goes into doing the different things. So I was going to see if that format works and see what you guys think, and maybe I'll do some more of that stuff. Because I think when I'm doing the game development now, I'm running into stuff every week that I'd love to share, like with you guys, so you can learn from it as well and see that everything isn't as straightforward as a lot of tutorials seems. Because when you look at a tutorial, it's like you do this, you put this program code in, and it'll work like this. But for me, at least, the game development process is very differently. I end up with lots of problems, errors, and then you have to figure them out, solve them on the fly, troubleshoot. And stuff doesn't work the way you expected it to, so you have to go back to the drawing board, fix that. So we'll see. Oh, a Dodge 1970. Cool. Nightmare Studio. That could be cool. I didn't used to like older cars, but now I like them. Every now and then. You need a course for crashing Blender. No, I crashed it actually yesterday. I tried to script some Python stuff and it blew up. And Zed is covering me here. For 3D printing, I'll read that out. 3D printing prep. Edit mode, in vertex mode. Select by trait, non-manifold. I have absolutely no idea what that means. Manifold? I know there's like an extrude manifold that I've never figured out so far. Atakan learned so much from Blender. Thanks. Cool. You're a 3D game artist. Awesome. That's really cool. I'm actually being able to provide some freelance work to the Discord community, some members there now. So I'm hoping to scale that up at some point. I'd love to be able to help out and direct like 3D work to people that are active in the Discord. So I've been in contact with some of the monthly challenge winners for that. VFX in Unity, Z says, depends what you mean by VFX. Is it like just general like particle effects and post-processing and stuff, or what are you thinking? How to improve the coding skills? Well, if you find out, let me know. I need to improve mine. I tend to solve the problem a lot when I do development, but unfortunately that often goes by like throwing conventions and stuff out the window to a tiny bit. To my co-developer's great horror, but he's actually really good about it. I tend to be able to solve. I'm putting on a lot of like visual and front end stuff because my code quality wouldn't be good enough for like a robust base of a game. But I can solve the problem a lot when something needs to work, like the map gen in Lionware, for example. It's really good because it can like generate the map, and once that's done, it doesn't need to interface anymore. So I'm pretty good at those things. But I think. Just like, I don't know, prototype a lot. That's my advice. That's how I'm. Imphenzia should make NFTs, Hanan Beer says. I've actually been doing some freelance modeling for NFTs, and I might surprise everyone with a little side project that I've got going. So some people love NFTs, some hate it. I'm on both sides. I love them in many ways, but for the wrong people, maybe they're not the best thing to do, especially if you're not into that type of thing. Stay awesome, guys. TTY. So let's see. All right, let's see. It's 98% rendered, my Premiere now. So I'm gonna do, let's see, particles, movements, nodes. I tend to use the old particle system more than the VFX graph. I still have to learn the VFX graph. So a lot of my particles need to interface with the game world and physics, so I know that's a limitation of the VFX graph, but I'm probably going to run into the VFX graph a lot more. All right, let's cover let's see. I'm just checking out through my little chat history here. All right, don't worry if anyone thinks, well, Jen Abbott creates says she's late, but you don't have to worry about that, because I was late today too. So I finished my premiere video 15 minutes before the premiere, and I thought maybe if I switch the rendering to the NVIDIA like hardware encoding, it'll finish, but it didn't. It took half an hour to render, and it just finished now. So my plan is to stay active in the chat. I'm going to try my skills now to transition to a video file, and then I was going to stream that, and I'll be active in the chat meanwhile. And there might be some errors in this premiere because I had no chance to go through it the way I usually view it. Cadox, thank you so much for the super chat and the support. That's going to be funding one of these. Your £5 is going to be funding 2 of these coffees. And this one is leaking, so I had to put an extra cup. They should really improve their cup quality. Tapio, when are you going to finish the race game tutorial? I guess it's definition about finishing it. When do you consider it finish it? Oh yeah, the waypoints. Skid marks is to do, and waypoint systems, AI. That's a big area to cover actually. You have two routes to go. Like multiplayer is tricky in that sense, and AI for driving game is a bit tricky too. All right, let's see. All right, cool. So, have you tried? I've tried very, very briefly the Unreal Engine like 4 years ago. I have got some assets in there, but I haven't really give it a full shot. So I'm thinking I might wait until UE5 is out of beta, and then I want to try that one in Godot. I'm going to say Godot because that's how it's spelled, but I think it's Godot. Godot. I don't know, something like that. But I'm going to try both of those at some point. When it calms down, I'm going to do it. But it's not going to happen, is it? So I'll have to do it some nighttime, maybe when I'm extra energetic. All right, let's go. I'm happy. I see a lot of comments, both in my videos and also in the chats, that like a lot of people have gotten started, learned stuff, both in Blender and game development through my videos. Really excited and thankful for that. So thanks a lot. All right, sorry if I'm... like Arvid said, the pronunciation of Godot doesn't really matter, nor does anything else with that engine, I nearly said. But I'm excited to try it, actually. I think it's got a really good niche. All right. All right. Why do you need headphones? I don't actually. It's actually disturbing me quite a lot. I've got the music on so I can hear that if it's playing like some weird stuff. All right, I'm going to try to transition to my premiere now. So it's going to be a premiere within the live stream. Exciting. Let's see if I can figure this out. Where did I even put my file? Did I put it on the desktop like everything else? Yes. All right, are you guys ready for a premiere within the live stream now? We've got 111 viewers, and I bet you're disappointed. It's been like 16 minutes, and I haven't even started anything yet. So I'll be active in the chat, so I'm going to just make sure that it works here. Sign into chat. Okay, good thing I tried this one. I need to sign in first, apparently. Everyone's ready. No, not ready. Jules, you have to wind yourself up and get ready here. Okay, I'm in with my... Apparently, I've got the wrong YouTube account. So how do I switch? I'm signed in as someone else. Okay, let's switch this one. Let's boot up another browser. All right, cool. You love lives. Okay. Maybe I'll get some decent practice out of this. I'm terrible at when it comes to streaming. The 24-hour streams are all right, because then I nearly forget that the camera's on. Okay, I'm going to check that this works. Hello. I'm going to see that it shows up. What's the delay like? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. About 10-second delay or something. All right, so let's pause the music. I have to fiddle a bit with the sound volumes here. So, Streamlabs video file, I'll talk it so you know that I'm not just sitting here wasting everyone's precious time here. Desktop. It doesn't need to loop. Everything's ready. Done. All right, let's give it. Thanks, Raul. Thanks. Happy to hear it. Please make you Unreal Engine car game series. Wow, that would be insane. I didn't even finish my Unity one yet. All right, I'm eating pizza. I'm starving, actually. I'm looking forward to having something to eat. I'm not going to waste anyone's time anymore now. Let's give this a go. Let's try to transition to this one, and let's watch a premiere within the live stream. So, ready for it? 3, 2, 1. Go. Hello everyone and welcome to another Thursday, and last couple of weeks we've done some live streams, and now we're back to a premiere, and I'm cutting it extremely close. I've never been this close before, okay, because it's actually less than an hour until the premiere, so I'm going to rush through this and I'm going to narrate 28 minutes of video. So, and the spa bath just kicked on. Never mind, we'll have to ignore that. So this week I've been working quite hard on some new trees for Lionware, and last game, if you remember, we played a round which I lost apparently. Probably because I was stressed since I was streaming at the same time. Never mind, I've lost a few more games since then, but I've also won a few, and I've come to the point where I want to change the trees, because in the game I've always been meaning to replace the trees because they're basically just triangles at the moment. There'll still be triangles, but there'll be different triangles. If you check out these trees in the game, they're basically just like pyramids. It's constructed from 4 triangles that are raised up in the center, just vertically. And it's just spawned like one big mesh is spawning a bunch of these. As you can see here, you just basically have a slider, but I control that through the program code, and it just raises the trees up a random amount. And I created a shader like this that just does that on the fly, and you can also use that shader to fold the trees. So if tanks and stuff are moving across, then they'll fold, and you can control the height. So if you plant a structure down, it'll like deforest that particular area. And I've been wanting to change this around because they were only really a placeholder like this, and also they grew in the desert, which was a little bit strange. So I booted up my favorite program of all time, probably Blender, and if you followed this series, I've done a whole bunch of things, and trees included. So I'm going with the same approach here. I created a low poly tree that I went slightly higher poly with. I kept the origin or origo at the base of it, and then I just put some green foliage. And then I did a project from view on the UVs here, so I can get some shading from brighter green at the top to darker green at the bottom. I select some random faces and just make them a little bit darker. All I really wanted was to get some sort of a variation here on the foliage. And it doesn't really have to be accurate or realistic or anything. And then I created a decimated low poly version because my idea was I have to keep the poly count fairly low. And then I'm going to project, well, I'm just basically going to wrap a albedo texture and a normal texture on top of this. And I was also going to create a bunch of them. And I started by UV unwrapping here, or like a smart UV project on the low poly, just to get the layout, because I need that to bake the albedo texture. And then I changed that, if you followed this series before, down in the lower right quadrant is emissive material. So I move actually all the UVs there on the high poly, which still looks low poly, down to the emissive area, because then we can bake textures. And I bake some textures that are only 256 by 256, and I set them to bake the emission, because I don't think you can bake the albedo, and I need them to be lit all the way around. So I just set an output texture for the low poly tree. I create a separate material and create a blank texture for that one. And then I can just bake the emission output with cycles onto that new texture. And that will become my albedo map that I'm going to be using in the game. I keep the resolution really low, 256 by 256, because I want to keep the memory bandwidth streaming as low as possible when we actually do the in-game, because it's going to be rendering a lot of pixels here. So I set the base texture here for the low poly material to be just a new albedo texture. And then I go back and I set Blender here to bake it. Ran into some issues when I tried to bake it. And it turns out you can't really bake apparently when cycles is set to GPU setting. So I had to switch that over to CPU. If you run into that issue and you try to bake something like a normal map or an albedo texture, or like in my case here, the emission texture, then I was fiddling around a little bit with the transparent here and stuff, but it didn't work. But when I changed it to CPU from GPU, then it worked. It doesn't look that great. As you can see, it's bleeding down a little bit on the stem, and I fixed it a little bit by modifying the cage. But again, for the purpose of viewing these trees from a very long distance, you're never going to zoom into these closely, so I don't really need a high-level LOD. I just needed to keep the poly count for each tree down to maybe about 50 verts. And then just when they're bunched together in random sizes with a normal map, I figured it'll look good enough. It was a trial and error for me. So I changed it to smooth shading, and then I did the same, but instead of baking the emissive channel, I baked the normal map channel. And exactly like before, all the settings were pretty much identical, and just switching the bake type there from emit to normal. Ran it, and still I find this process to be a little bit messy in Blender. I wish they'd improve the baking a little bit, but it worked out in the end. So it takes like a cage approach, and it bakes the details now from the high poly, which still looks low poly, into a normal map, and then the lights will fall off a little bit better in the game. And in Blender, it looks terrible, as you can see, horrible. But again, remember now that these are going to be only a few pixels in size, so I figured it might be good enough. And then I decided I wanted some more variations, so I did the repetitive process here of manually warping 16, and I can never remember the name of these, but the trees with leaves on. I think they're called, not conifers, because they're the ones with the needles, but like delicious, I always think, but that's not the game. Anyway, I did 16 of those, and then I did the 16 pine tree type of things here, the conifers. And I used the same base model, and then I just warped them, used proportional editing, colored them. I still use the same coloring method with my Imphenzia texture. Link in the description if you want to download that one. And once I was finished with 16 leaf trees, 16 conifer trees, I copied them basically, and then I colorized them with snow as well, because in the snow biomes, I really wanted to have a snow cover on the top of them. And I just view them from the top and select all the top faces and colorize them to white. And then I went through the process of decimating all of the models. I copied the whole collection, and then I decimated them. And I needed to UV project now. I didn't want to UV unwrap 64 individual trees. So I wrote this little Python script that basically takes your selection, and then it does a smart UV project on there with a 20-degree limit. But remember, the degrees are specified in radians. That's where it's 0.349 there. And it just made it a lot easier. I could just select all the objects, hit the play button there on the little script thing, and voila, all of them were nicely UV unwrapped. Didn't have to do that manually then, which was a huge time saver. And I think there's still some dead space in there, but for my purpose, I think it'll be just fine. UV unwrapping is never really that fun to begin with, so if you can script it, it's a bonus. And then it was time to render it, and also setting up the emission render and selecting all the right meshes in the right order was tedious, so I created another script as well. And first I just hacked it together, and I basically just Google stuff when I tried to program scripts like this, because I'm not really that good at Python. And then this is the script that I ended up creating in the end. I just decided to record it nicely typed instead. But this is not how I typed it. I do a lot of trial and error, and I basically copy parts and I go, how do you select this? How do you bake it? And I Google all those things, mash it into one big script, press play and hope for the best. And it actually worked pretty good. It outputted all of them into individual files. And then I could use, just in Photoshop, I use batching contact sheet. And funny enough, you can't really set spacing to 0 pixels, which is absolutely ridiculous. You can only set it to 1 pixel or automatic, and automatic is 1. And I didn't really want this white line grid between everything. So I had to go back to the drawing board, and I ended up Googling, how do you do this stupid thing? And figure out in the end how you did it. And it was basically, I found a workaround. I had to Google it, so Photoshop image to sprite sheet without the border, and tried to figure out a way. First I failed to find anything, so I gave up and I gave it another try myself, and I thought surely that you can't really set it to 0 pixels. But apparently that's the case. But I found this post here on the internet, and basically if you set it, well, not basically, if you set it to centimeters, you can set it to 0 and then switch it back to pixels, then it works. So when I did that, it just ran through it, and it created this horrible looking sprite sheet, but it's 8x8, which is 64 different. I had to create one for the albedo texture and one also for the normal maps. And finally, I wrote another script that selects all the low poly objects and it exports them. And first I did them as individual FBX files. Worked really nicely, but I realized that I don't really want them all individual files like this. So I decided to go back to the drawing board a little bit. And am I recording? Yeah. So I used the selection instead, and I decided to put to just a single output file, because in Unity you're still going to be able to access all the meshes. I also do apply unit scale, and I bake the transform there, because I want the rotation to be correct. That's a bit of an experimental thing, but it works. And here's where I actually do change it, so I don't do the individual exports, just hack and slash it a little bit, and then selects all the low poly objects, exports them into one FBX file, and that was pretty much instant. So all my work in Blender was done. I decided then to boot up our game project, which I've got a test scene here. And I had done a little bit of individual testing just to see that the mesh approach worked. But now it came to creating a forest generator to replace my old one. And I started in just a blank scene like this and put a little forest generator at the base. And this was a lot of trial and error, but I've done a lot of the similar work. So I decided to write myself a little C# script here. And I needed to access all the meshes, so 8 rows and 8 columns. It's a total of 64 trees. And it's the first 16 are the leaf trees, and then we have 16 conifers, and then it repeats the same for another 32 trees, but with tree coverage instead. And the first thing I do is I just grab all of those and put them into one big mesh, so I can access all the verts and triangles. And I'm fast forwarding this because I only want to show you, this is not a tutorial, I just want to explain a little bit how I went about solving this problem of replacing the trees. And I could break stuff out into individual videos, I guess, if there's anything that are of a particular interest. So I wrote this base generator that just takes the source trees and randomizes them, and this is my first output. And this is very common to my development method here. I have no idea what I'm doing half the time, and I was looking at this going, something is not quite right. It's not looking exactly, doesn't look like 10,000 trees to me. So I scroll through my code and I go, okay, what is the problem here? And sometimes I Google, and sometimes I just sit there and think it through. But most commonly I just test to type new stuff in. So I changed it a little tiny bit and see, okay, I've got something that looks a little bit like a tree. So I'm on the right path, and I can see that the UVs are stretched and triangles are shared between the trees. So my normal process applies again. I scroll through. I tried to go down to one tree. makes it a little bit easier. And that one tree looks sort of the ways, apart from the UVs not being correct. So I go up to 2 trees and see, okay, what's happening then? And here we got a problem here. So I'm realizing that as soon as I go from one tree to another, there's some triangulation issue. And a mesh is based off vertices and then triangles, which is basically just a long list of ints that refer to ordered integers. Well, no, to ordered vertices. And then you have the UVs that explain how the albedo and the normal maps are supposed to be maps. And what happens is when you assign the triangles, they have to correlate with all the correct orders of the verts. And 95.3% of all my problems when I was working with this tree thing, or the forest, was that the triangle order was incorrect. So I had to spend a lot of time, and I ended up with a lot of warped, broken meshes. And I spent a lot of time like this going, and then I realized that I actually had to check the offset on the vertices instead of the triangles. Probably makes no sense to you now, but at the time I realized it made more sense to me. So it looked a little bit better now, with the exception that the UVs are incorrect, and that was because I was using the old material. So I had to replace the textures here. Instead of having like the single test tree that I rendered, I replaced those with the atlases that I created with those contact cheat automation in Photoshop. And it still doesn't look correct. And I was contemplating, okay, I replaced the texture, but it still doesn't look right. I had to zoom in to double check. Is it details? No, it isn't. And then I realized that I had to move my code from into my main tree generation loop, because I was trying to change the UVs on the meshes, the FBX files, and I don't think you're allowed to do that. So I decided to move the UV remapping into my tree creation loop. It's important that when you do the UV, I spaced them out on a grid by 8 by 8, so I had to divide and offset all the UVs accordingly, so that because the ones that were created in Blender spanned across the whole texture size. So I needed to come up with this little formula here that divided it by the grid size, so it could actually shrink down all the UVs, and so they'd fit nicely into the chessboard-like display or layout of all the tree textures. And that didn't work either. And I was going, okay, something seriously messed up here. And again, very common to my normal process, I realized that some trees had brown on them. So there was still something wrong, and I go usually my old process back. I try with one tree, I enter some debug log here to double check what's going on. And then I found that there was something here. And usually there's, sometimes it's like a simple problem, like just having the wrong material or something. And sometimes it's a little bit more complex. But in the end, I managed to get there in the end with the correct texture, with the correct UV calculations. There we finally had the single tree. And I have some sliders from my shader here that I can affect the ambient occlusion power, and I can also offset a few things. And the normal maps seem to be working here. So when you do the sliding, I can also split the trees like that with a vertex shader offset. And it looks ridiculous when you close up like this, but my idea was that when you're viewing them from a distance, if you can split the meshes apart a little bit, you'll get a little bit of transparency without having a transparent shader, which is really expensive. So I was pretty happy with that option. Whether I'll go for it or not, I don't know. So bumped it up to 1,000 trees, and everything seemed to be working. It just spawns them randomly, and it's only using the first tree in my index now. Again, close up, it looks hideous. You wouldn't want to have that in a game. But again, Lionware is played from a very high altitude, so I just need something that looks tree-like and it's very performant. So I thought it's going to be good enough for my purposes. I changed it up now so it randomly picks all the trees instead of just having that base tree. And here we go, issues again. We got some triangles that are flying across, and like I said, 99 point whatever times, I lied again now because I said a different figure before, but most commonly it's the triangles that are doing it. And again there, it snuck itself in that I'm offsetting the triangle offset there. I needed to have the vertex order correctly. So if you're ever doing procedural mesh generation, make sure that your triangle offsets are correct. Press play again, still a problem. And not surprised, I'm rarely surprised. I try my usual approach here. I go, okay, there's some array offset incorrect here. I do +1 here. Okay, does that work? No, I get an error. And my brain, sometimes it doesn't cope, so I go, okay, what happens if I do -1? Will the array look correct then? Will all the triangles be correct? And no, it looks, if anything, it looks slightly worse than it did before. So that apparently, sometimes that approach works if it's just like a simple offset thing that you got wrong. But most commonly, I think you actually have to boot up that brain of yours and actually think about what the actual problem could be. And I realized that it could be that it overflows with the amount of vertices. So I had to change it to a Uint32, so it could have more than 65,000 vertices. And that fixed it. It still looks a little bit broken because I've got that offset thing which splits the trees, but at least they're not sharing verts anymore. So the problem that I had was that it was warping around 65,000 verts. So you had to bump that up to the Uint32. Let's try it with the delicious trees. I can't say it. The leaf trees again. It worked, and let's try the sliders a little bit. The normal power here, you can change that. That's the offset thing, so you can get that bit of an airy look when you look at them from a distance. I've built in the shader as well that you can change the hue, the saturation, and the value. And I'm hoping in the game that we can just change maybe a little bit with seasons, or so it adapts to the biomes correctly. I was pretty happy with this, and decided to play around a little bit. Let's bump it up from 1,000 trees to 10,000 trees. Generation time was a little bit longer, but it runs really performant. 10,000 trees was absolutely no problem. And remember now that all the trees, they're just one single mesh, and they're actually animated in the shader. And I can cover that in a separate video, how the shader is made, but it's a sine wave animation of the vertex position based on the tree height, and then just a noise texture to sway them back and forth in the wind. And it's pretty happy with it. Started to play around a bit. Obviously, they look probably more accurate when you have the offset down to 0. But I found that they look a little bit too cauliflower, or what's the other green vegetable thing? Can't even remember it now. But I thought they looked a little bit too solid. So I might have that offset running. Changed that as well to try the Conifer Trees. I really like the look of those, and change the camera angle. This is how you be viewing them from the game, but from a much higher distance. So overall, I was really pleased with the results so far, and I was happy that the automation and the batching and everything like that worked. And I know that we're going to be requiring tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of trees. So performance is a huge issue. And also testing out by just offsetting, adding another 32 to the value of the tree index, it swaps all those trees out for the nice snow-covered ones. Same logic, it just picks a different part of the array there. Finally, I went out of the test scene and brought them into our standalone scene where I can test it in the game. And I just made a prefab out of the whole generator and dragged it in. Obviously, it's not going to be blocks like this, and it's not going to grow snow trees in the desert. So that would need to be changed. But overall, I think it worked in the game. I had to decide a little bit on the size of them. So I spent a lot of time testing and moving them around, duplicating them. And then I brought the leaf trees into the grass area here. Did the same thing. Did a manual copy of them just to randomly scatter them before I put them onto the noise texture distribution, just to make sure that it looked decent enough. Another common approach of me is to do this a lot. I'll test it in a standalone scene. I'll bring it in, do some manual testing before I commit to swap out my game logic to create everything in detail there. And I was pretty happy with the way it was working. And it's always difficult to choose on this offset setting. You obviously can't go high, but I think a slight bit of offset that breaks the trees apart, makes them slightly transparent, and trying to blend as well with the different hue and saturations. So in the end, I might, I'll see what final values. And I did the same here, did some testing with the Conifer Trees, and it looks a bit messy at the moment, but and those were too tall. But it's just scaling a little bit on the y-axis there to see how they would have looked if I were to bump them up. Problem is that you need to see the units all the time. So it's a representation of a forest rather than an actual forest. And I think I'm going to have to keep the trees about that small so you can actually see the units. So it wouldn't be so useful if they're just disappearing into the foliage. Totally. But I was really happy with the way those looked. And then when I feel really tired, I boot up a game of bullet chess. Usually I used to play blitz chess, which is 5 minutes on the clock. But I've changed that to bullet chess. And this really wakes me up. So I won that one randomly, and then I went back. I had got myself a little bit more energy to focus. So performance to create many trees on the CPU, doing all that mesh building was problematic. So I ended up creating a compute shader instead to run that on the GPU, and that ran about 10 times faster, but it looked like this in the end. Looks like something from Interstellar, like the web of a time continuum in this in a black hole or something. And again, it's my usual fear when I come to this is that it's some array misalignment with the triangulation, and it was tried it with 10,000 trees instead to see if the problem went away, but no, it only made it worse. And still same problems. All the trees were randomly sharing big triangles with each other, and it's very difficult to debug compute shaders compared to the CPU, and you can't do any debug log entries or anything like that. You have to try to figure out in your mind what's going wrong in the memory or in the parallel processing, and also it's parallel processing, so it's a little bit problematic. Sometimes I just stop and then I press play again and switch the trees out, and after I fixed that problem, which I can't actually remember what it was, but it was some sort of a triangulation misalignment there. But once I did that, once I got that fixed in the GPU, they were generating a forest of 100,000 trees in 300 milliseconds instead of 9 seconds. So I was really happy with the generation performance. And also, this is 10,000 trees now, all visible at once. One single object, and it renders extremely fast, and that is with real-time shadow as well. So at this point, I was pretty ecstatic, actually, that it was working like this. It's running at 70 frames per second here. It's because I had VSync enabled. So I went up and switched to disable VSync, and then it ran at 1,900 frames per second with 10,000 trees all in the same view with real-time shadow. One single object, so it's no batching needed there, but it was super happy with that result. So I bumped it up to 100,000 trees to see how that would work. It took about 3 seconds because I'm not doing all the computation on the GPU, but most of them. And then, yeah, 100,000 trees even worked there, and I was still at 1,700 frames per second in the editor. But remember, this is on a 2080 Ti, so it's a bit it's not the best graphics card in the world, but it's pretty performant still. And even in the scene view, when I zoomed in, all those 100,000 trees all visible, and that would be about 50 million verts, I think, or something. But super smooth, super high frame rate, super happy guy. That's what was the conclusion out of going to the compute shader after all those misalignment errors. Bumped it up to 1 million trees and thought, okay, let's push this one step further. Let's take it to the moon. And press play, and I got this little exclamation point, and Unity threw in the towel and probably crashed the memory. So in the end, I settled for a nice 300,000 trees in the same view here, still super performant, and I was extremely happy with the results, so it was time to bring it into the game, and it didn't work that well to begin with. When I started to use my noise distribution logic to place them in the world, I got these massive stacks of bush-like trees, and I tried a few times, and I couldn't figure out what it was, but you probably guessed it right, it was still some sort of a triangulation error, and again, you have to sit and inspect it and try to figure out what's going on, and then most of the stuff, like I said, is running on the GPU to do the distribution. So you're a bit stuck for you have to really read the code line by line and figure out what's going on. Finally, got it into the game, got the distribution working, and I use a noise texture just to read off where the trees should be placed. And then it just spawns a bunch of trees like clusters, and the game will keep track of where they're spawned. And then first I did the pine trees there, changed it to a little bit of a mix of a tree. Had to play around with all the offset things, and I still haven't decided, like I said, on what settings. But I think when the offset is set to 0, they look too strong and too much like artifacts or something. And I'm going to go for just a slight bit of offset and then a decent amount of normals. And then you get this result in the end. I tweaked the colors a little bit as well and zoomed in here so they're a bit pixelated. But now we're starting to get to the point where I was hoping to. Still probably going to do a lot of tweaking with it. And then I created an animation curve and had the code select the leaf-like trees in the center around the equator. And then the further north and the further south you go, the tree line will change into the Conifer Trees. So they're more in the colder climate. So I drew a curve to direct the randomization engine or algorithm pick trees that are according to just visual how you want them. Where do you want the conifer trees? North and south. Where do you want the leaf trees or the delicious trees, which they're not called? And I wanted them on the equator there, and obviously not in the desert. So that worked pretty good as well. Started to look around the scene and spawned a few units here, and the trees are looking all right. They sway a little bit in the wind there. Still have to work a little bit on the distribution of them and how they're placed in the world. Maybe around the mountains needs fixing a little bit. Some stringy forest probably as well that needs rectifying. And in the game, tested to spawn a few units just to see what it would look like. And you can see in the south there actually started to detect where the snow was as well. So I placed the snow. It just offsets the trees by 32 up into that grid to get the snow-covered trees in the north and the south there. So it detects if I'm in snow, just replace my tree with a snow-covered tree instead. And that was it. That was a nice journey. It took me about maybe a week worth of work and testing, a lot of trial and error. And I've got a lot of experience with this type of approach of figuring something out. And I've done a lot of the Unity model, or the Blender modeling. And I've done a lot of automation lately as well. So doing the Python scripting in Blender to get the automated output was super handy to save time. And then I was really happy to go from the CPU processing to generate the forest and get the GPU assistance, because that really tenfolded, or if not even more, boosted the generation time about 10 times. I think I can actually boost that even more, because I'm still running a few things on the CPU that could be offloaded onto the GPU. So that was it. That was a bit of it's not a tutorial, like I said, but it was just an attempt to show a little bit of what a week of my game development could look like. And hopefully you found some useful bits out of it. I hope you found some useful bits out of it. You could always rewind, pause it, and maybe look a little bit at the code. Well, programming, I can solve the issue, but programming quality isn't usually my strong point. So I'm going to get a lot of comments going, that is hideous, that code, but it works. That's the important thing. So that's going to be it for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you did. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And finally, I'm going to find some format that works for this week. And I'll do some guest 10-minute modeling challenges as well. So until next week, have a great one. And I'll see you then. Bye for now. Woohoo! I'm cutting back in now, so we're back live now. Okay, that was interesting. I can hear myself now. I have to switch that off. All right, no downvotes. Is that even possible? Arvid was there, wasn't he? Did he forget to downvote? I hope I can. Can you hear me now again? Yeah. I have nothing important to say. I just thought I couldn't just leave a live stream without being live, I guess. Magic reappearing of headphones. Yeah, did it switch like that? Yeah. So this is real time. That was recorded about an hour ago. So I tried to. You could probably tell that it was like a stress comment. I edited the video during the day, and then I had 1 hour to try to narrate the whole thing, which is why I was itching my nose like crazy. I don't know why you do that if you're stressed, but I was just going to use the voice. But never mind. Probably. Like I said, it's not that much of a tutorial. Like, I've seen some formats of videos like this, but when they're packaged maybe better, because I've got all the material, maybe I should like do something, show the compute shader, explain the important parts of it, and then like show A and B testing and stuff. This very different approach to just like give it a little insight. So, all right, let's have a look if there's any questions there. Interesting if I didn't even understand half of it. That's all right. I don't even understand half of it myself. My development process is so strange. It's like I don't really like mathematics is not strong for me, and which is kind of crazy since I do like the procedural map generating. But it sort of appears to me like it should be something like this, and then I try it with some algorithms and stuff, and I Google a lot, and it just works in the end. But I probably could do it more efficiently. Some of the videos that I've seen. Everyone should do this, actually. I might even cover it if I can license-wise. I have to check with the guy because some strict licensing. But everyone Google, let's see now, mathematics selfie girl or selfie girl using only mathematics, and check out that video. It's a guy who's like a role model to me nowadays because he does a lot of procedural texture generation, and it's absolutely amazing. If you imagine what Jan Sculpts does with his Blender modeling, then take that, and then this guy creates an image which is super cool using one mathematical formula. So check out Selfie Girl mathematics, and then put it in the comments if you did actually search for that one and check it out and see what you think about it, because it's one algorithm that describes like the girl's face, her hoodie, light angles, backgrounds, animating eyelids, like blinking and shifting the eyes. And literally, it is just telling the graphics card to do that in real time using ray marching, and it's probably the most impressed I've ever been at someone's math skill and also the visual results. Super impressive, so check that out. All right, James, Lionware is looking so cool now. Thanks. Yeah, it's really improving a lot. I'm really happy. I play it quite a lot now, and I'm actually really enjoying playing it. And I don't just say that because I've made it. I've made a lot of prototype games, and most of them I don't like to play, and I know why. It's because I have to get better at game design. But luckily enough, my co-developer, Christian, is super strong at game development and balancing. So Lionware, I truly enjoy playing that one a lot. And I think when it gets out there and people start to learn how to play it, I think it could be quite a big thing. We're also excited now because we're doing some really good negotiations now with some publishers. So we were set on doing self-publishing, but we might go with a publisher deal now. It's looking pretty promising, so we're super excited to announce that at some point as well. Jim Engström, now you can buy me fika. I should be giving you fika. Jim is a childhood friend of mine, and he's a couple of years older than me. So when I had no money, we used to go to like Vega Baren, and check that out if you don't know where that is. It's a hamburger place in Stockholm, super good. I haven't been there for a long time, and McDonald's and stuff, and he always had me covered. So it should be me paying you back. You'll get that 50 kroner back. Thanks for the support, but I'm going to double that and give it back to you. All right, let's see now. Have I got any other questions here? I should think that if you were to take it for like another year or so. Probably use line of sight and everything for turrets and individual. Okay, yeah. Stuff is coming, not so much line of sight, but turrets and some technologies we're looking forward to implementing. We'll be doing that while it's in early access. All right, a lot of deleted messages here. I don't know what happened there. All right. How do you get your game idea? Do you refer to Lionware, Sam, or do you think of others? Because all my other game ideas is basically just some random topic thinking, this could be fun as a game. And usually when I prototype it, it's not really as fun as I envisioned, which is a really good thing about prototyping. I'd advise anyone who wants to do game development, if you have an idea and you think it could make a fun game, prototype it using super primitive art and a core game loop, and test it out if it is fun. Because I've many times I've thought that something is going to be super fun to play. I prototype it and I go, okay, it wasn't as fun as I hoped. So maybe it could be tweaked, maybe it couldn't. But it's a very good way to learn to see if a concept is good or not. Low Poly Racer, Dr. Ron, I'm hoping to at least finish off with the skid marks and some basic AI. My schedule is super crazy at the moment, so I'm unable to do that one at the moment. So, but hopefully I'll be able to get back to it. Oh yeah, the bridge. Me and Jim Engström. Today, if you even mentioned the type of game we were thinking about making back in the day, this was in the late 80s, early 90s. Picture a bridge with random people. The more innocent, the higher the score if you manage to knock them off the bridge using devices that are meant to send projectiles. So I tried to cover that in a cryptic way. So bonus points for prams, I remember we had. It's pretty fun. All right. Your music is still legendary to me. ZX6, sorry. That's the Swedish way to say 6. Thanks. It's been a while since I composed music now. I'm happy with it still, actually. Still my trance and chill-out music I enjoy. I enjoy listening to myself. That's weird. Stupid, probably. Okay, I was wondering about trees and other like mountains. Will they affect the movements? Yes, they do. So trees in Lionware, the trees and forests and mountains, they will slow down troop movement and they'll slow down building construction time to half the speed that it would take to construct. The bonus that you get is that you conceal your unit. So even if it's opened up in the fog of war, then even if the enemy or opponent can see the fog of war, it could be units that are still present in the mountains or in the forest. So yeah, you have to be aware when you're coming towards a mountain range that it could be hidden units. And you also have some stealth units like commandos, for example. So if you have commandos that are in the forest or in the mountains, they're super difficult to detect. You can even walk up with a couple of infantry guys in the mountains and they'll just get fired upon, but you don't see anything. I actually enjoy that a lot. Do you have tutorials on how to make a game? If not, well, I got one tutorial that actually takes you from start to finish to make an Arkanoid or Breakout clone. That was the simplest game idea that I could think of. I also got some tutorials to get started with like platformers and stuff. It's difficult to cover the whole process because adding the content is actually taking a lot of time. If we're working in Scrum sprints, we've actually had a super structured development process. We've defined everything as stories in Azure DevOps, and every story usually every sprint has a theme. So we could tie that pretty much to like an alpha version. So like a sprint, for example, was called Airborne Invasion. Another one was called Amphibious Assault. So when we add, for example, the ability to send troop ships or landing craft now called, then we'd tackle that in that sprint. And everything was defined with stories, so it describes what the player should be able to do in the game. And then tied to all of those stories are a whole bunch of tasks that we distribute and time estimate between ourselves and interlink them. And we also tie that to all the check-ins, so all the code check-ins are correlated to those tasks and those stories. Also, all the bugs and everything is reported in Azure DevOps, and I'm really happy with how that's worked out. I was inexperienced in that field before starting this game, but again, my co-dev is a really experienced game developer, and he introduced that workflow, and it's been actually extremely, extremely good, both for planning, keeping track, prioritization, and also in Azure DevOps, with it being tied to the Git repository, all the check-ins are correlated, so we can run searches in DevOps to figure out when stuff was done and why. Super good. And also another bonus, but that's with any Git, we could check out the game from any build throughout the whole development history. And it's going to be fun if we do a recap of how the game was made. It's going to be fun to go maybe for monthly snapshots or something and bring it out, compile it, and show the different stages, because it's iteratively improved a lot during the time. Okay, let's see. And whether it's Scrum sprints or not, I don't know. I'm not that, but I think that whole workflow is pretty similar to that. Oh, my story with meeting your music, 8 years ago? I thought you said when you were 8 years old, but 8 years ago when I found you on a CD game called Beatball. Yeah. That was, are you in Germany, by the way, ZX? Because Beatball was included on Bildspiel magazine or something in 1999? No, 2000 maybe. So it was distributed to a lot of Germans, since a lot of Germans read that magazine. And I have a lot of emails even to this day, or comments at least, to say that they found Imphenzia through Beatball and the music when they were kids, when they were young, and now they're older. So that puts a good age on me. Blue MC Ashan, what inspired you to make games? Well, I've wanted to make games ever since I got my first computer, which was a Spectra Video MSX 728, I think it was called. And I've always enjoyed creating stuff, and I've also, I've not been much of a game, I haven't been much of a reader, but I like the ideas of stories and stuff. And every time I read or watch a film or something, it makes me want to create a game about it instead. And then, unfortunately, I didn't go into professional game development, so I did a career in IT security instead, because that's something I could do. And it's not only the recent years now that I've turned my hobby into a more of a business, and I'm really enjoying it. So I think it's just the creative process and being able to doing all the ludum dares I absolutely love, because you take like a weekend and you create a game, and you can just refine your skills, practice them, and put them into creative use. I think as long as I can create something, I'll be happy. There's a lot of discussions here. Well, Unreal versus Unity. I'd say both are amazing engines. I think Unity is good because it's easy to understand and a wide community for it. And I think Unreal is more performant and higher quality games are probably made using that one, is my opinion. But it takes a lot more effort. So fun, you stay to chat more. Oh, thanks. Glad you like it. And let's see. Hi, do you know anything about game marketing before releasing it to the marketplace? Interesting question, Matthew. And I'm not much of a marketer. It's a tricky subject, and we've been discussing if for Lionware if we should self-publish it and do paid advertisement with it, or if we should go with a publisher. I don't have much experience with marketing myself, but I know it's a tricky subject, and unfortunately, I'm not able to give any advice on it yet. But with the journey of Lionware, hopefully, I can shed some more light on what worked and what haven't worked for us. Okay. Civilians in the cities. Yeah, we've got some extended ideas for resources and types, but it's we also have to stay like some of the important things with Lionware is that we want to make it competitive even for the esport arena in the future. So matches should be between, well, they're about 40 minutes now on average, which is a good mark for that. We want to not make the game too complex and long, because then matches will drag away for many hours. So we have to be a little bit careful on that. Mirko, yeah, well, today, I don't know if you missed the beginning. So today I'm just rounding off. I did an intro, and then I did a premiere that I was supposed to air, but it turned into a live stream instead. So I put that in the core part of the video, and then now I just decided to stay a little bit longer and chat. So, all right. Okay, I think, let's see, what time is it? It's been an hour. I think, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let's see, some more questions popping in now. Can you tell me the main music of Beatball? Because I can't search it. You can't search it because actually that music loop was composed for Beatball, so it's only in that game. I've got it on my hard drive somewhere though. So if you want it, I could probably share it somehow. I just need to send a link. I'll be happy for you to download it. Okay, so John Durden, in your 100th episode, you modeled a big ship and showed off using a palette where some of the colors were emissive and some weren't. Any chance you can get an explanation? Yes, you can get an explanation. So check out some of the previous videos. You could check out, for example, the Cyberpunk room, I think covers it, or the one after that one. And I'll cover it like briefly now as well. I have a texture that's got the same type of gradients in 4 quadrants, and that's the albedo texture or the base color. So no matter where I put my UVs on that, it'll be of that color. But into the emissive shader plugin part of the material, it's actually a separate texture where the top quadrants, both the top ones and the bottom left one, are black, and the lower right quadrant has got the same colors as my the colorization texture. So whenever I move my UVs down to the lower right quadrant, like I did in that video, it'll pick up the emission, and I multiply that probably by like 10 or something to get it to glow. And I have bloom enabled or the glow thing for the post-processing there. So that's my advice. But check it out in that video in the Cyberpunk room. Yes, that's right. I made that menu music loop just for that one. Thanks, Arvid, as well or Andreas. Sorry, thanks, Andreas, for checking out or giving the mention of which episode it was. Make it downloadable for your patrons. Which one, Arvid? The ship, of course. I have to upload the final batch or that batch, of course. That's good. Fan, my wife and me loves your work. It's really interesting to watch to improve skills. Thanks for all. You're welcome. Happy to hear that. Glare, thanks, James. That's right. And STA started to use Blender with your basic video. Thanks. Yeah, should So many ideas. I want to cover so many things. I should invent time compression or something. All right. Do you like beatbox? I don't know. I've never tried it. I think it's impressive that some people can do it. Have you worried about cheating in Lionware? And yeah, I mean, cheating is always an issue when you create a multiplayer game. There's a few things that we're doing to reduce the ability to cheat. One of them is that like a server runs all the logic, so it comes with a downside because then we need to host all the servers in the cloud or anywhere. But the good thing is that the core logic runs on a server, and that game logic doesn't even exist on the client. The client is quite a stupid device that just renders. It gets a lot of information, takes your input and sends it up to the server, and the server sends back everything that it does. So it's really good in that way that you can't really like time accelerate or anything. But there's some stuff that we need to do more in terms of preventing. A lot of the stuff will be server-based, so like clients won't even receive the unit positions of the hidden units and stuff like that. That's going to come with both performance optimization and also anti-cheat stuff. So I'm trying to think what you could do in the game to cheat. Maybe some overlays, but I mean, I can't really see. It's not like an aimbot type of thing, so we're not too concerned at this point, but I'm sure people are so creative when it comes to cheating, which is sad and crazy. All right, let's see here. So Son, okay, I'm a Blender newbie and I have a question. How do you, how to put a light when you render in Workbench? Yeah, lights in Workbench is a pain. You can't really create a light source in the Workbench renderer. So what you can do is go into like the drop down up in Blender and change the edit studio lights or something. There's 4 light sources that you can configure in there, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you can configure the light directions there. So that's the only way you can do it. And Ben is asking, you're managing all the service on Azure? Yeah, at the moment it's all Azure. And the reason why we run on Azure is because we've got the development, the DevOps stuff there. And so Christian that I work with, he's really experienced with Azure. So we've tied everything together there, but the servers could run anywhere. The servers are headless Linux servers, so they're compiled Unity instances that run automatic. They basically just boot up in a text console. The problem with that, unfortunately, is I can't run compute shaders on the server side, so the maps should have been rendered or generated in like 20 milliseconds or no, not that fast, maybe 200 milliseconds, but instead they take 8 seconds on the CPU. But that's going to be sorted as well. We're going to probably offload, so map generation is performed on like a dedicated GPU farm that serves all the game servers, so it should be good. Mark, what are your thoughts on NFTs and do you like them? I know it's a really infected issue, and I have absolutely no problems with infected issues, and I don't have any problems talking about them. So NFTs, the non-fungible tokens, some people hate them and some people love them. I think it's a really cool technology, actually, that's built in to prove the ownership of in the beginning it sounded stupid to me and crazy, like anyone can copy like a GIF image or something or an MPEG file, so what's the point? But I'm starting to understand that ecosystem a lot more, and I think what interests me the most with the NFTs is that it's pushing development of the blockchain forward so much and at such a rapid pace. And with it comes people that try to capitalize on it and invest in it and try to figure out which projects are going to be successful or not. So I think it's a healthy thing for the type of the blockchain development and getting decentralized stuff like that in place. So that part I really like, and I like that it's also a possibility for artists. A lot of freelance work is coming through the NFT space. So, and I've actually been able to help a few people as well. I've done some freelancing for NFT projects, and I've been able to hand out some freelancing work to some of the people in the Discord community. And so those are billable hours, and I'm really happy to be able to, that people can do what they love to create the art and that they could be sold as NFTs. I guess the downside that I see with it is that people that are, there's people that might be trying to invest in NFTs and risk money that they can't afford to risk, and that's a problem. But I guess that's like a problem with anything, like including gambling. And I think there's a lot of fear. I think there's some jealousy as well, to be honest, in the game development community, that here's like a new space where people can make money, both in terms of creating the NFTs and trading them. And I think it can frustrate a lot of game developers who are struggling. Like, I mean, we've been creating Lionware for 2.5 years without pay to do that. And it could be frustrating. I mean, there's always a risk that you create a game and it won't sell. It's difficult to market it. People maybe can't find the game. They don't think that it's worth to invest the money to play it. They don't have the time to play it. So I think there's a lot of frustration in the game development community against NFTs, because people are running towards them and making and losing a lot of money on it. But my stance is that I actually think it's a cool thing to push the technology, and if it helps artists to distribute work, and if it could become a thing in the future, I actually like it. So cool. I actually love it. So let's see here. I got a bit sidetracked there. Maple, I just wanted to thank you for your work. Thanks. Currently working on a small racing game for a class project, and it's turning into reality thanks to you. Thanks. Happy to hear that. I'm really happy to be able to help out. So a lot of newcomers to game development, I actually like. And NFT scams will pass, but the tech will remain, and it's an amazing thing. Yeah, I mean, like with anything, if there's an opportunity, there's going to be scammers and ways that's going to be exploited. But I agree with you. I think the tech is going to create a foundation for the future. So I think, like, fast forward a few years, I actually like the idea of the transparency of being able to prove stuff in the blockchain, and that is decentralized. So the way things are hidden in abstractions now, and what the public can see, and I think it's a bit of an issue. So I'm actually looking forward to what it could land in. There's a lot of back and forth of which blockchain to go for and stuff. Of course, there's pros and cons with everything, and there's crazy fees involved and stuff. But it's racing game. Yeah, at some point I'll finish, or I'll do another episode at least to be fun. So I need to cover the skid marks and some basic AI. And let's see, James, you help me in Blender. What do you use for model inspiration? I pretty much everything. And if I see something that I like, or let's say I watch a sci-fi film, or I think of a game idea, I just think of like an object, and I try to create it. One thing that I've noticed is that a lot of people that on Twitter, for example, or on Instagram, that share stuff that they've done, they've followed my modeling process from like an episode of a 10-minute modeling challenge, and they've used my exact object. So whether it's like my pirate, for example, or one of the cars, or maybe like a spaceship. And I'm realizing that everyone is copying all the moves to create like the identical looking object. And personally, I rarely do that. And I don't know if it's just people are like geared differently. Maybe some people need to follow to create the identical thing. But I tend to see like the technique, and then I'll just pick something that I want to create instead, and then I use the technique. So my advice would be to not always copy and do like an identical copy of something that I've created. Even I don't mind if you do. But it could be good to think of a different object, maybe like a different type of spaceship, or a different, like if I've made a car, try to make a bus or a truck or something, maybe. So, Mark, thanks for the answer. I agree with you. And how long have you been doing 3D and YouTube? I want to create my own channel and brand, basically, but I've been having some issues. Yeah, any tips? Well, I've created my YouTube account in 2009, and I used it mainly to promote my music initially. So when I did Imphenzia stuff, and then I switched into promoting my assets that I did for Unity. And now it's only the past couple of years that I've done more Blender. And it took me about 10 years to reach 10,000 subscribers. And I think a lot of the content that I was creating were more like adverts. So I can understand that. I think there are a few things. So consistency is fairly important, I think, to create content. And not to be too afraid. I mean, when I look at my first videos, I feel like I'm like a deer in the headlight when I look at the camera and like that. Don't really know what to say. But I think the main thing is just to record it anyway. Even if you don't upload it, record it and edit it. And if you can upload it, and if you don't mind, I mean, it takes practice to become better and good at something, whether it's modeling or even YouTubing or something. So my advice is just to keep it going, but only if you enjoy it as well. It shouldn't really be a chore to something that you hate doing. And also, I think a lot of people are complaining like about the algorithm not favoring their content. And I saw a huge spike when I had done my 10-minute modeling challenge initially. And I understand, I think, why it spiked. First of all, it was COVID, so a lot of people got indoors. But then I had come up with something new that was reoccurring that could attract a lot of people. But I also understand why it sort of plateaued and started to fall down. And I could see the algorithm like poking to push it a little bit now and then to see if it gained traction. But I think it's not it's useful to people and it does like its thing, but it's not like something that would go viral to that extent. So personally, I'm going to look at probably creating higher quality videos that are more packaged and can deliver a better message. So I don't think it's so favorable when like my videos are like an hour long, an hour and a half, and they're a bit dragged out and crappy jokes and poor humor and stuff. But I think that's nice to the audience that I've got and that the people that keep coming back. So I'm happy to do those things, but I don't think it's necessarily that good for like a successful YouTube career. So, oh yeah, so, mods of course. So Draco, Mia, PC, Arvid, and Brillen, and I think I've got a couple of more. Sorry if I forgot to mention someone. Draco, super happy to have you, my admins or my moderators here. Great mods, and also they're helping me out a lot in the Discord server. Before I launched the Discord server, I was petrified because I had a lot of people saying that you should do a Discord server, and I even said before that I don't have time, unfortunately. But then I got convinced to do it, and I'm really happy that I've done because it's a cool community. But even like the past few weeks, it's been absolutely insane. So I'm not able to hang out in there as much as I'd like to. So apologies again. Sounds like a broken record, but. Can you please create a specific long video on Blender Eve settings and export it to Unity and do stuff? Okay. I want to see how Blender lighted mesh works in Unity. That's a good topic, actually. And one of the NFT projects that I worked on, they're actually bringing the models now into VR. So I'm actually going through and helping out quite a lot on that side of things. So I should be able to hopefully cover that. What are your opinions on sci-fi? James is asking. I love sci-fi stuff. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, YouTube algorithm is just annoying. I think, unfortunately, that's another topic I could just mention a few words about. I think algorithms in general at the moment are annoying. I think they exist to attract like time of an audience. So whether it's like YouTube or Twitter or I don't know, Instagram or something, or like TikTok or something, the algorithm is only tweaking and poking you so you'll stay on that platform. That's what it's geared towards. To get, and then also to stir up. I mean, look at Twitter, for example. All the comments there, they're just it's just like a hate platform, more like, because that's what sort of engages people more to comment negative stuff. So I'm hoping that the algorithms can be tweaked at some point, so that instead of stirring like conflict and stuff, it would be cool if the algorithms could team together people that have similar interests to solve different problems. So like either whether it's like a society thing or for game stuff. So I think hopefully the algorithms can change for that. But again, I understand the algorithm for YouTube, I think. So yeah, there's how dare you? Oh yeah, engage. Hello, frequent Discord. How dare you work when you could have fun with us? I know it's a problem when you enjoy working so much, like I'm doing right now, because I'm doing like Lionware full time, or it's more than full time, and I'm enjoying every minute of that, which is kind of crazy. And I actually love the YouTube stuff that I do, and I love the side hobby dev stuff. I love the Unity asset development. I love like I'm trying to learn a bit more about the NFT space now and doing some automated modeling stuff there. I like that one, so it's just wish there was more time. Okay, Emissive Materials, Andy Engine is asking. Yeah, I can cover that one, because I think the best approach there is to go. Actually, do you mean Emissive Materials in Blender or in Unity or both? Because I can cover both of those. Mark Mylerov, thanks for everything, man. The Blender community loves you. You're welcome. Or you're awesome. I thought you said you're welcome. Thanks. I'm happy. I'm so happy to be able to share and help out. Keanu Steve, sounds like Keanu Reeves. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Probably in this chair, doing the same thing I've been doing for the past 20 years. So continued game development. I'd like for Lionware to hit like a release and become playable by the general public. And for 3 to 5 years, I see myself continuing developing Lionware and taking that for a big journey, because we have big plans for that game. And I think when the players learn it to the point where I think it could be deserved to be played at, then I think it's going to actually be quite a big thing. I'm hoping that anyway, because it is, it's got so much to offer and so much replayability. So I'll probably still doing that. And then general game dev stuff, I'd like to be able to help out again for like create more tutorials, help out. I mean, I've got kids now as well, and I see that they're starting to get interested, and I have so much feedback from people that are learning. So I'm hoping to be able to keep sharing stuff like on my YouTube channel or through different type of courses, and inspire a little bit for others to get into game development and set some realistic expectations. I think is important too. I think game development is good as like a hobby balanced with a healthy work life and income, and until a point possibly where you can switch over to like, or even keep it as a. I mean, I realized that keeping like development of indie development I don't think it's worth going for like a full switch to full indie, which I think a lot of people are striving to. I tried that one before, and then I went back, and then I tried it again, and then I went back, and I think I was really happy when I did 50-50. So I worked like in a day job, but I did game development in my spare time and at a bit reduced work hours. But then saying that, I actually switched to full-time in the game dev. So let's just ignore the whole topic for now. I should think before I speak. I'm about to learn creating games with using VR and AR. Should I go for Unity or Unreal Engine? Well, I don't know. What I think it's more where you're comfortable. What are you comfortable of using? So if you want a quicker result and easier and more community support, and you like C#, then I'd go for Unity. If you want C++, more like performance possibly and stuff, and if you think you can cope, maybe Unreal Engine. So let's see. I'm going on a lot here. How you make LODs for your assets? Okay, so level of the detail, I'm guessing you're referring to the Sam. For I don't actually do them, since I do low poly. Then I don't really have to have different LODs. I was a bit, I should mention, since we covered the trees actually, I should mention that when I created the trees, I was quite set on using billboard trees, which is like basically sprites that are facing the camera for Lionware. And I was so set on that approach that I sort of ruled out 3D trees altogether. So I tried it, and I wasn't happy with the result at all. They all looked, because usually when you do billboard trees, it's like two quads that are like in a plus sign like this. But it doesn't work from a top-down view, and I'm happy that I scrapped that idea and tried at least to do the low-poly trees with slightly higher quality materials on them. So. All right. So 1 hour and a half of your time I've taken up. So thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. And I'm still going to think a little bit about how to approach this thing. I want to share as much as I can on the game dev topic, Unity and Blender. And still haven't found my format yet of how to continue, but we'll figure it out, I'm pretty sure. So thanks a lot. Put anything in the comments. I do read them, even if I don't have time to respond to them. But put stuff in the comments. Hope you enjoyed it. And until next week, take care. Bye for now, guys. Oh, all right. Hold on. Tech Wrath TV. Sorry, I must have missed your questions. All right. So didn't get a response. Sad face, sad face. Okay, let's scroll up then. Sorry about that. What have I missed? There we go. With repetitive modeling, have you tried developing an add-on in Blender that can do it quicker? What are your thoughts? Have you gone to developing add-ons? Okay. I haven't tried it yet. I think it's a definitely good approach to fine tooling. I'd like to do tooling for modular like spaceships and stuff, but I haven't found it the time to do it yet. So I've settled on a middle ground approach. When I do NFT stuff now, I've come to an approach where I model assets and I structure them by name and hierarchy in my Blender outliner. And then do Python scripts that will process those and iterate over them and combine them in different ways. I don't know if that doesn't actually technically qualify as modeling quicker, but it's creating like variations that are consistently and uniform. Like they look very similar using that approach. So it's like kit bashing, but script assisted kit bashing, which I've done. But I'd like to go into the point of doing like actual procedural modeling in Blender. That would be cool. Let's see. Did you have another question as well? I'll scroll up. Sorry if I'm missing questions. I've tried to look like through it at the same time, but I'm a terrible reader. I think I'm like half dyslexic or something. So let's see. You made my day. Love from Pakistan. Well, I'm happy that I could answer. Longest 30-minute premiere ever. Yes, Arvid, sorry. A bit people want to go here. Let's see. I'm going to keep reading though. I wonder if we can get Imphenzia to turn this into a stand-up 24-hour live stream. It's only 20. Imagine just like winging it at 24 hours. If anyone's new and I haven't watched it, I've actually done two 24-hour straight live streams without interruption. Well, the first one was interrupted a few times because I tried to stream that using a 4G modem. And I kept running out of data on that one, but now I've got fiber. So the last 24-hour stream was superb, super smooth. All right, so I'll just keep answering some questions then. Hope you have tried to do the... Okay, so the emissive materials with... Yeah, I hope so too. I've got so many ideas I want to create. Low poly creates different mindset. Retopology is unnecessary. When you start with low poly, then so do I. Yes, I agree. I don't have to really worry about retopologizing or anything like that. And can Unity do everything UE, Unreal Engine, and can't, and the other way around? I mean, they can do different stuff, but at the bottom line, they can do very similar things. I'm trying to think if there's anything that one can do particularly better than the other. I don't know. I wouldn't worry too much about it. When you reach that point where something is not possible in an engine, I think that's so far down the line that it's not worth worrying about most of the time. But I understand it's a valid question. I just wish I could answer it a little bit better. There's, since I don't know enough about Unreal Engine yet, I'm sure I could answer that question better if I try it out. But we're running into issues in Unity, and I think Unity is solving it by adding more packages. They're changing their approach, and for me, Unity is becoming quite difficult. I mean, 4 years ago, it was like one product, one render pipeline. It was like everything was solid, built in and tested and easy to understand for new developers. And they've shifted a lot. I've said this a few times, but Unity's shifted a lot lately. They're trying to compete with performance and flexibility. And with the performance and the flexibility of code use, like the new input manager, comes more difficult. Like the learning curve is more difficult for beginner developers, and especially with the like entity component system and like multi-threading and the new netcode stuff, the new I don't know, everything that's pretty much new in Unity is becoming more and more difficult for beginner developers to understand. So I think that's a shame, but I sort of understand why they have to go down that route as well. Also with the different render pipelines, there's so many things to keep track of now. So what used to be super simple and basic is becoming a little bit more difficult, unfortunately. So, but again, I'll look at Unreal Engine and try to compare at some point. Cesar, just want to say hi and thanks for your videos. You're welcome. Thanks. Do you think Lionware will be in early access by the summer? Yes, I think so. We were actually aiming for either 22nd of February, since it's a cool date, 20 like Obel says there. But since we're in discussions with the publisher, it could be some flexibility on that date. So we'll figure out. But it's we're really excited. I mean, it's gonna release anyway. it's gonna become a playable and purchasable game at some point. It's just a matter of hitting the right mark for it. Okay, so when's the new episode for the Endless Runner? I mentioned that a little bit last time as well. That was actually only meant to be like a one episode until I realized I named it Endless Runner. I was actually going to name it how to do like basic platform mechanic. And then I thought, well, it could be an Endless Runner because I'm not developing a platform. And then I realized the whole point of an endless runner is to have an algorithm spits out an endless level, which I didn't do. So I sort of named the thing part 1, thinking that I'll figure out a way to put part 2 together, and I'm not sure when, unfortunately. When are you launching Imphenzia merchandise? Check out the description of previous videos. I already got some stuff. I'm not wearing it at the moment, but I have to get some. Some of them I actually worn. I should check out some alternative prints. It's been good. I've worn my stuff a lot. Some of it has held up pretty good, like my E2Extrude S to scale T-shirt has held up pretty good. The hoodie is faded a little bit, so I need to see over my merch provider. Kashtan, if I have got any ideas to do like a series together with another YouTuber like Grant Abbott, I haven't thought of it, but I've had the request a few times. I mean, it would be cool. Again, I sound like a broken record, but I think it's the problem for me is trying to fit in time-wise when it would work with the game or like my freelancing stuff. So, but it would be cool to do. It'd be fun to meet somewhere actually on an event if COVID thing ever blows over, to do something like correlated. That would be cool. Will there be a diplomacy condition in Lionware? It's Lionware, by the way, without the S. No offense taken. I just want to clarify it, even though, because I see a lot of people typing Line Wars, like in Star Wars, but it's Lionware. So line peace, if you try to achieve that through win condition. Well, it's going to be win conditions based on like power and dominance and superiority, probably, so you don't have to drag out the games for too long, but not from diplomacy. Oh yeah, the Gunslinger series. Well, everything that is recorded, so that's another one. I've got the material, I just need to edit it. And I don't really want to employ like an editor. I'd like to do it too much myself, and I want to present it the way I've been thinking about it. So I think a lot of YouTubers run out of time, and then they get like editors to edit their content. But I don't really want to do that. I want to edit it myself. That's one of my downfalls, is including game development or everything, is that I tend to want to do everything myself. So the first real attempt at co-developing a game is this Lionware thing, and that's actually been a huge success story in terms of co-working, which is super cool. All right, let's see. What's the best site to sell 3D models? I'm interested in more technical ones to sell. Unfortunately, I can't really say, because the only thing I've been selling stuff through is the Unity Asset Store, which has been a really good platform for me to sell my stuff since it's game dev related. But I don't know, like the likes of, is it Sketchfab or Turbo Squid or something? I haven't got no experience to sell there. Oh yeah, Yusuf, this is not well. It was just to recap. It was a live, and then it was a premiere video broadcasted within the live stream, and then it's back onto live now. And I was supposed to finish like half an hour ago, but for some reason I'm still here talking. But I'm enjoying it. What are your views about developing metaverse in Blender and Unity? Oh, I don't know. I haven't followed the metaverse stuff too closely when it comes to the whole. Like Facebook thing, so I don't really know. So I haven't seen Ecto. I haven't seen a video in like 4 months. What's changed? Well, I reached episode 100 of the 10-minute modeling challenge and decided, if nothing else, it was going to be a bit of a pause. Maybe I'll resume like some guest episodes at some point, but it was a cool milestone to reach. And I'm still trying to figure out how to best utilize the time so I can package game development content, both Unity and Blender related, and interchange the two a little bit. And the easy thing with the 10-minute modeling challenge is that I could actually like find a slot every week to do it. And that's why it worked so well for the 100 episodes. Doing like more complicated game development videos and tutorials is trickier, so I have to find my place how to do it. Let's see, could be side stuff. Blue, I'm just reading, trying to capture if there's questions here. Since I figured out that you like to ride motocross, have you thought about making an MX game? Well, it's my main goal. Well, that would have been fun. So. I think some of the motocross games that have like released into like, what were they called? Like, you know, like the physics is so difficult to get it right, so that's why I probably haven't attempted it. But I think that's why there's some quirky games coming in with broken physics like that. I can't remember what it's called, but it was like some motorcycle games where you like get your wheel stuck in super stretchy like suspension and stuff. But it would be fun to do something. All right. Talking and chilling with fans and supports. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. I've still got 83 strong viewers here tagging along still. That's cool. How tall are you? Blue is asking. Well, I don't know. Yeah, 188, I think. 1 meter 88 centimeters. I think 6'2" or something. Oh. Yeah, I probably did. I tested out Second Life once, like, so it must be a lot of years ago. All right, so let's have a look. Before I go, please answer my riddle, then I will be happy. No lock, hinges, or lid, yet golden treasure inside is hid. What is it? I'm terrible when it comes to riddles. I don't know. I can't do it. Let's see. Oh, cool. So, Mia, you're hanging out. You should hook up with Jim Engström on... Jim has been using it for a long time. Kenny Lex. Meet up. I'll join as well at some point then. I'll hang out in Jim's and then we'll hang out in there. Cup of tea and just general chat. That'd be fun. Actually, he only made 99 10 MMCs. The hundreds one was in 10 minutes. So Arvid is always finding a way. Yep, I did. It's like my perfect topology car. That was 99.9% perfect topology until the very last thing nearly I put on the car, which was like the center of the rim, which was an N-gon. And I think it was Rekt and Arvid both pointed that one out. All right, let's see. I hope I'm probably missing some questions here. Casper, good evening. Good evening. Let's see. TechWrath, can you recommend a 3D object slashing package for Unity 3D where you can slash 3D objects like in Fruit Ninja? Unfortunately, no, I can't, because I haven't checked out the assets in terms of slicing objects. I know there was one, but I can't remember the name of it, so I can't really recommend any. Let's see. Mero, how old are you? I'm 46, believe it or not. How did that happen? I don't know. Time warp. I think felt like I was just 26 the other day, but apparently not. How about doing a tutorial like Asteroids in Unity? A game like that seems to cover a lot of coding bases. Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. Asteroids, simple platformer, or like the one I tackled was like a Beatball clone or a Beatball clone. Well, Beatball was a clone of Arkanoid, which was a clone of Breakout. But, oh yeah, one thing that I mentioned, and I wish I could find the time to do it, because what I'd really like to do is to create like videos that are less than 30 minutes, probably like 25 to 30 minutes, and it would be like topic would be like how to create a game like Missile Command or something, and how to create a game like Arkanoid, or how to create a game like International Karate or something, and then try to package it so all the key moments are in the video, like the modeling part from Blender, like the setting up the project in Unity, but I'd have to cover it at such a high level. And I'm going to take, I think, inspiration by Sebastian, I forget his name, Logger, some the UK guy, I think. He does really, really cool videos where he packages a project that he's done, like Coding Adventures. If you check that out on the internet, someone could probably put in the chat as well what the proper name is, or a link even to the channel. But he has a series called Coding Adventures, and they're super neatly packaged, and I'm really impressed by his way to present them. And I wish I could reach a good level to package a message like that within 30 minutes. I tend to do stuff for like an hour and a half that just drags out. But maybe that's why some people are actually learning a little bit more from it, because I do drag it out and I try to cover it maybe too much. And I think his video editing takes a very long time to package it. He's really, really like methodical when it comes to compiling the message. So I'd like to get to that point. Thanks, Arvid, for the link. Sebastian, super, super good videos. And he's actually hitting the algorithm right now as well. I think he did a video. He does like one video every other month or so, but they're really, really good quality. And I think he gets like 1 million views in just a few days now. And I think he's going to hit 1 million subscribers soon, which is super cool. Very, very cleverly put together videos. And I think it's very difficult to achieve that level of quality when it comes to video. So I think the algorithm is doing him a good favor for a good reason. TechWrath, develop a small game demo platformer with you as a character. Well, I'd like to put the Imphenzia alien on it. That would be kind of cool. One thing I've been thinking about is that my mother's husband, I think they're married, my mother's boyfriend, no, it's probably husband. He's in his 80s now, and he wants like a game like Mario or something, but for the PC. And I was looking, like, all the platformers on Steam and stuff, they're like, I can't even remember the names, but there are no games that are that simple, I think. Even the platformers, they're more adventure platformers or something. So maybe I should make something that's super playable for old people. I'll be there soon myself. So. Oh, cool. You like the longer videos. Cool, Gisela. I can't say your name, sorry. All right, let's check. Have I missed some more? I probably missed some more questions. So Sebastian, I don't know how to say his name. Lage, large. Okay, Lague, at least. What's your favorite meal? I don't know. Everything that's unhealthy, unfortunately. So young. I don't even know what age Jim is. I know he's older than me. He's my childhood friend, but his age has always been a mystery to me. You have to put it in the link now. No, you don't have to. I don't know, actually. I think you're like, I don't know, 5 years older than me or something. Oh yeah, Gianna Sisters. I used to love that music, actually. That's what the Gianna Sisters soundtrack, I think it's Chris Zubek that made one, isn't it? Or is it Rob Hubbard? No, Chris must be. That's one of the songs on the C64 that got me interested to make music to begin with. So that was a true mesmerizing tune for me. Really got me started to become Imphenzia back in the day. It's not the color which makes a good video. It's the guy who streams it every Thursday. Many thanks. Well, thanks, Karsten. Appreciate it. Now it's the 3rd live stream in a row now. Weird. Yeah, I don't know, actually. I think Super Mario was probably more game, like a better game design, I think, than Gianna Sisters. And plus, didn't they have to take it off for copycatting or play, what you call it? All right, so Jax, hello, great content, by the way. Glad to catch the stream. How about a basic overview of animation in Blender? Yeah, that is actually the episode that I've got, let's say now, 12 hours of recording to animate all the animations that I've created for my cowboy characters, including all their animations. And I mean, I could release it as a 12-hour unedited video. Speaking of algorithms, that'd crush me because no one would watch it for that long, so I'd be like downrated. Or I could try to find time to compile it into a video that's neatly packaged into like 25 minutes. We'll figure out if I mean, I've got the recording as long as my hard drive isn't corrupting. Zenner, just watch your Unity beginner tutorial, which is great. Cool. What would you recommend for a programmer who's learning Unity? Quite familiar with C#. Okay. What do I recommend? Well, if you're, let's see, so you're quite familiar with C#, so that's not going to be a barrier for you. I would say prototype simple game ideas and try to make them to work, and then move to more and more complicated things. So I'd pick like a game genre that you're interested in, and I would avoid everything called multiplayer for the time being, and everything like advanced AI, even if you're skilled at programming. And then I would advise to create that as like with mediocre graphics or something. Just take placeholder art or something, and then just get the stuff to work. And then, unfortunately, like I said before, it's shifting a little bit of what components to use. There's multiple ways to solve things now, and if you want to go for high performance, then it's that entity component system and DOTS, the data-oriented technology stack and stuff. But unfortunately, that takes longer to do, so I'd probably keep it simple in the beginning. I don't know if that helps. So Jarre as well, yep. I don't know how you say that. That's how we used to say in Sweden. Yeah, I love this music as well. Super cool with all those synths. Let's see. Please do videos about interactive simulators. I don't even know what those are. Like what type? All right, let's see. Did I miss a question? Up here. John said, do you or would you consult advise less experienced indies? And would it be less than $500 an hour? Yeah, it would be less than $500 an hour. And I'd love to be able to do the consulting, but I wouldn't have time, unfortunately, at the moment. I've had some requests for one-to-one consulting, and I'd probably disappoint everyone by not being able to do it. So purely because of time constraints, otherwise I would have done it. So, but the game development and the YouTube stuff and the freelancing is taking a bit too much time at the moment, which I need to do for the time being. But I'd like to share as much as possible through the YouTube channel and through courses, at least, maybe to start off with. And maybe at some point I can get into a point where I can do some one-to-ones. Tech, do you think about, there's a lot of questions here. Do you think about personality for a character before designing the character, or just focus on the character looks? I don't really overthink stuff so much. I start to design something with my low poly characters, and then after that, I just go with the flow, and then if I accidentally create a feature on the character, I usually spin off that topic. So I've got actually some interesting stuff when it comes to, we've been speaking about the NFT stuff and some characters, and I've actually developed a whole array of characters for that purpose. And those come with like animations and personality traits, but I'd say most of those are just going to come up with on the fly. So I have quite a bad laptop. Is there any way I could make highly detailed models and not crash every few minutes? No, unfortunately, I don't. I think if you're going, you could do low poly models or save up for. I understand that like the hardware is a limit for many people, so I think it's tricky. I mean, avoid a lot of lights and stuff like that. So try to remove all the lights from the scenes and all the light, even in Eevee, for example, and stay with the workbench render or even wireframe, unfortunately. All right, let's see. Yeah, that's right. James said about the animations there. Don't teach all of them, but particular one, roll, jump, and shoot. Yeah, I think I'd have to dig through the material of all the animations and pick out key moments and then try to package that. I mean, I should really try to keep those type of videos for 20 minutes. So. Oh yeah, Arvid, how long is the premiere tonight? Sorry, do you want to go to bed? You're up late again. Yeah, I'm trying to round off. Every time I come to the bottom, I think I'm going to say goodbye now. I mean, I said goodbye like half an hour ago. So I'm nearly at the bottom now, so let's see. I've probably missed a few questions. Apologies if I did. How many CPU cores does your computer have? I think it's 8. It's time to upgrade my PC and the graphics card at some point soon. Even though I've got quite good gear, but I do a lot more rendering now, so I want to do those. Do you keep a stash of snacks close to your desk? Kinetic? No, I don't actually. So I eat them before I reach my desk. No, I don't. But for the live stream, I actually kept a cooler bag with a lot of stuff, and I didn't hardly touch any of it. I just kept modeling and talking. Do you have snow here now? Yes, a little bit, tiny bit, like that much. I live in Stockholm, in Sweden, so further up north, they have a lot more. Would you recommend ZBrush and additional support for Blender as an additional support? Not really. Unless you want to specialize in that type of sculpting that requires ZBrush, maybe, but I think you can do so much in Blender, and unless you want to spend the money on ZBrush or want to learn it because it's like an industry type of thing, that'd be good. Is it bad if I copy your low poly style for my games? Nah, not the style. Just, I mean, I haven't patented low poly style. Just go for it. There's model stuff. If I can inspire and help out to learn modeling, go for it. How would you recommend ZBrush? Oh yeah, sorry, I already answered that one. Let's see. Another Unreal Unity versus Unreal. You can check about the history of this actual episode. I spoke a little bit about that one. Guilt pleasure food, I don't know. Pizza, probably Pizza Hut. Would you recommend ZBrush? That one's... I've already answered the ZBrush thing. Oh, I'm nearly at the end here. Al Einstein. Hello, nice to see you. Yeah, so do I. Discord, I should go there more often. Hi, Imphenzia. Here's... oh, sorry, I can't say your name. George. I shouldn't even try. Hi, Imphenzia. No question here. Just a huge thank you for your videos. And here's a huge you're welcome. I'm happy to be able to help. So, all right. I think we're here now. And one more. Amarok, I'm at the last comment now. Just wanted to say hey, and thanks for all the content you've created. Learned lots of really handy little tricks and shortcuts through your videos, and I appreciate you. Thanks a lot. I'm really happy to be able to help. I'm happy to inspire and get a lot of people developing games and getting started with modeling. So that's going to mark the end for this video. Come back next Thursday for another, I was going to say 10-minute modeling challenge. Who knows? Maybe I'll squeeze that in too. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a live stream, premiere. I'll keep you on your edge. So as long as you come back next Thursday, same time, same everything, nearly Christmas as well, and we'll see what happens. So until next time,